Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to a very special episode of Chairboys Live. Episode number 10 arrives with us with Wycombe Wanderers
and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to
in the League One playoffs. For the first time in Wycombe Wanderers history, they've reached the playoffs in the third tier of English football. And of course, it's come about in the most unbelievable circumstances. Who could have believed? Let's take you right back to June last year. A dozen players, I think, turned up for pre-season training. A very challenging season lay ahead for the Chairboys. Let's fast forward. September the 7th, Wycombe Wanderers go top of the league because their left-back has scored a hat-trick of set pieces. Christmas, leading into the Christmas period, Wycombe Wanderers 7 points clear at the top of the table. As the weeks continue, Adebayo Akinfenwa becomes a record goal scorer in Wycombe Wanderers EFL history. Joe Jacobson's got 10 goals. The Chairboys are in the thick of a promotion battle before a global pandemic strikes and brings the world to a standstill, curtails the season, and what followed was a crazy few weeks of speculation, debate, rules and ethics and everything being thrown up in the air. But we finally have an outcome, and Wycombe Wanderers will be playing Fleetwood Town in the League One playoffs over 2 legs, home and away, live on Sky Sports for the chance to play either Portsmouth or Oxford United in the final. And at stake is a place in the Championship. Unthinkable many months ago, and we have to say a huge amount of that has been possible thanks to the arrival of Rob, Missy and Pete Couhig, who arrived at the club, as we know, last summer when things weren't looking too optimistic and too bright for the club's future. There are vast improvements off the pitch, huge backing in many different ways of Gareth Ainsworth and his staff on the pitch, and what we've had to enjoy has been probably the greatest year Wycombe Wanderers have been able to enjoy in their 133-year history. A real shame, of course, that it was brought to an end with Wycombe 3 points off the automatic promotion places and really gearing up for an exciting end to the season. But everyone at home that's got a cup, I would raise a glass to Wycombe Wanderers 2019-20 season and to the Couhig family, to Gareth Ainsworth, his staff and all the players for what they've achieved so far. If the journey ends here, then so be it. But let's see what we can do over the next 3 games. So let's bring in our guests. I'm going to start with my regular co-host, but I'm feeling a little bit socially distanced from him this afternoon. Pete Couhig, how you doing, man?
Oh, man. What's up, man?
I almost set up our studio in your office just to, fill the void because you're back home.
Yes, I am. It was looking like there was going to be a gap between the division and playoffs, and as everybody is aware, I have missed my family greatly. My family has missed me greatly, and it looked like a nice little window of opportunity to come home and make a visit before I would say getting back to work, but as you are well aware, work never stops. So it's been really nice to see them. I'll tell you this, it's amazing the difference between the US and the UK right now. I'm constantly made aware of the fact that we are not, we're very different countries. We're not just separated by a common language.
Too right. Well, of course, so many conversations we've been having over the past few weeks have been involving the biggest word in the English language, if. And what if, and all the possible permutations of what might happen. We now know we have playoffs to look forward to, a hugely exciting time. I know you love your English football, you love the lower leagues and the playoffs and the whole aspect of promotion and relegation. What did it mean to you to finally to get that news that that's how the clubs had voted and this is now what lies ahead of us?
It's the second best dream come true. The first best would have been automatic promotion, as Gareth has sort of told everybody out there. We really feel we could have made a push over the last few weeks of the season had it continued. We had just gotten fully healthy again. So it's bittersweet. I've seen a bunch of our supporters say, I should be jumping up and down, running around, celebrating, but it's difficult to do so considering what's going on around us. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, your uncle Rob and his wife Missy, obviously the 3 of you 3 of the 5 directors here at Wycombe Wanderers are about to join the call. To everyone watching, you can leave a comment and we're going to answer as many of your questions as we can. There's going to be a load flying in, so if we don't get to yours, it's not personal. We're going to try and get through as many as we can. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome into the chat, we have Rob and Missy Couhig. Rob and Missy, how are you doing?
Wonderful, Matt. Thank you very much.
And Missy, can you hear us? Are you loud and clear over there?
Oh, this is great. We can't hear her. This is going to be the best interview ever.
Missy, have you got your microphone on? Can you hear us, Missy? All right, well, we'll give Missy a chance to try and get the microphone working. Rob, what was your reaction? I know you've been involved yesterday in the 2 meetings, the EFL, the clubs meeting in the morning and the League One option in the afternoon. I presume you had a strong indication of which way the vote was going to go, but what was your initial reaction once the vote had left Wycombe Wanderers in 3rd place going into these playoffs?
Well, I think the best reaction was it was sort of anticlimactic. I'm a guy who always looks for the positives. And the one positive that came out of this horrible situation is it gave Pete and me a chance to really get to know a lot of the other people in football throughout the English football pyramid system. And so the actual vote was not a surprise. It was a relief to finally get to it. My views, this was not what I would have chosen 2 months ago. I made my views known. Then I think that proceeding this way was tough, but it's a compromise, and a good organization finds a good compromise to which most people can agree. I am deeply sympathetic for those who say it's not fair for their club for this reason. But, you look around, having this virus destroy an entire globe isn't very fair. If you look at families that have lost loved ones, that's not fair. If you know people who have been out of work now for 100 days, that's not fair. The economic destruction that has ensued, not fair. We play a game that's an economic deal. And so we have to put it in that context. It's not always fair, but what you do is you come up with the best possible result. Missy, Pete, and I have a little bit of an advantage because we went through Hurricane Katrina. And in Katrina, we learned a lesson. You deal with the hand that you have been played. You don't deal in the ifs, whats, or what could have beens. It's what do you have in front of you. And so I think the league ultimately found a fair solution. We were going to, and look, Gareth and I got to know each other probably better over the past 3 months than we ever would have. Pete was a pretty good mediator because Gareth and the boys desperately wanted to play on. I'm a guy who wants to pay the bills. And so, I understand. And I told Gareth, I have great sympathy, understanding. This is a unique opportunity. But we have to be here at Wycombe for another 100 years. And so this is a good result. I should say this too, Matt. I see some people are critical and saying, well, how can Wycombe vote for this? Well, it was the only option, really. We voted for the EFL option. And then by the time we got to it, there we are. We voted to bring the season to an end, just as we said we would. And they say, yeah, but you're kind of getting into the playoffs. How can you afford the playoffs? We never said we could not afford to play out the season. If you read what we said, we were very particular that the revenue destruction, almost $1.5 million a pound so far, is catastrophic. We would have found a way, but come September, this club would not have been a 25% owned, fan-owned club. Pete and Missy and I would have ended up owning 100. And if you were Missy's lawyer, you would have owned 20% of that by the time it was over. No, I'm teasing. So it was tough. And look, Pete just said something. We are, and I think the fans have gotten to know us. We laugh, we kid, we tease each other. This is a tough deal. And so when we're laughing now, it's hard because part of you wants to be euphoric, to have been given the opportunity to help the club achieve something it had never done in its previous 133 years, or 134, depending on whose count you use, is remarkable, and we're very fortunate. On the other hand, you don't get to go out and drink champagne and celebrate because people are in such distress. So all we can do now is get ready, do these playoffs the right way, and I think we'll be okay.
Well, sort of starting on quite a serious note already, I suppose, talking about finances, one of the questions that's come in from Marcus here about how long the club can survive under the current conditions, because entering the playoffs obviously comes at a cost where other clubs are able to almost hibernate, keep players on furlough and not undergo the testing. Obviously, there is a cost with little revenue coming back into the club in the playoffs. If you don't win the playoffs, it's almost an expensive raffle ticket, isn't it? And if you lose that raffle, you're going to end up worse off. What is that timeline on the club's survival under the current conditions if we don't make it to the championship?
Well, the use of the word survival I wouldn't use, because we're pretty good stewards of the fisc, and we're going to watch what we're doing. Matt, I don't know if you and Pete have talked. We're bringing a few people back on. We need to get through these playoffs, principally on the revenue enhancement side, and we'll do that. We're going to work hard to conserve our monies. The club is fortunate in that we have in effect, a line of credit from the Couhigs to the club that will see us through the summer. We have, we think, a good insurance policy, but the insurer has denied coverage, so that's created some hardship. We're going to institute some things over the next 2 weeks, and you'll be a vital part of it, letting our fans know that we expect to play in September, how they can participate, how they can assist, and frankly, how they can have a good time assisting to generate some money. We'll get through this, and if it's September, it'll be tough. If it's December, very hard, but we'll figure it out. We're pretty good scrappers and the like. Pete hit on something, though, that I did not pay any attention to, because, as you know, we kind of divide up the world, and he's very much involved in the football side of it. Because we're in the playoffs, we're not going to be at the same level as other guys in League One, looking at their talent, signing it. We're fortunate that Andrew and Pete and Trevor have got everybody not everybody, but we got most of our guys signed, and we'll assign 1 or 2 more. So we'll be okay for it. And we're also very fortunate that the prior leadership were good stewards of the fiscal stewards. And so we're not walking into a horrible situation. But if we don't get revenue from the fans, we will be in a horrible situation.
You touched there about the player situation. A question from Mark about, can we get the full team back? I know you've been in obviously regular dialogue with Gareth and talking about the loanees in particular as to whether they'll be available for the playoffs. I was up there on Monday to see the first day back, and it was great to see a fully fit squad as well. Anya Dinmer and Jack Grimmer and Cashkit back amongst the squad. So it is a strong squad, but there will be questions about those loanees and whether the squad will be at its full strength. And obviously with no Jason McCarthy as well.
Well, I was going to say, and Pete may correct me, but I think we have everybody here through the end of the playoffs under an arrangement with either their parent club or specific arrangements with the players themselves. And we're expecting that will play until the 11th or 12th of July. So we've got that covered. Let me tell you about the Jason McCarthy thing. I personally feel terrible about it. My son came in earlier today and said, "Congratulations, Pop. For the first time in 70 years, you've been totally fiscally responsible." Where's Jason?
Oh, I don't like laughing about this, man, because
it's hard. But when I took over the club, I promised you that, and I promised all the fans, we would do financial sustainability. And it just didn't make sense for us. As hard as the decision was. And look, Gareth and I have had good, tough discussions. That was one. That was my call. It was not Gareth's. And I'm going to take responsibility if it turns out that it's a bad one. So there you go.
Obviously, we're looking at the likelihood, well, the certainty these playoffs are going to be played behind closed doors. It's going to be a different viewing experience for so many people who go home and away to watch games. They're going to have to watch it on television. A question from Damo here about, have you had any guidance, Rob, from the EFL and perhaps even above from the government as to what the situation looks like when we might be able to have fans back in the stadiums?
Nobody is giving a definite opinion, but the speculation that rises a little bit above speculation now is probably mid-September to mid-October. We'll be able to have some fans back in. My suspicion is it will be either at a 25% or a 2-meter social distancing, or maybe even a 1 meter. David Cook, who, as you know, is on our board of directors and our safety director, he has worked it out that if we go to 2 meters, and Pete may know the number better than me, but I want to say we'll be able to have 2,400 people or thereabouts into the stadium.
It really depends on how many people are sitting together because of the households being able to sit together. So it's a very complicated situation. Simplest answer is everybody's guessing. Wouldn't you say, Rob?
Yeah, I would. But we're going to give people a chance to guess with their money next week. We're going to put out our season tickets, and I had been deliberately holding off on that. But I feel comfortable enough, Matt, that there's a good chance that folks will be able to come in and sit in seats, at least this 20%, 25%. So we will be offering our present season ticket holders an opportunity to re-up. At the same time, we'll be talking about what do we do with the fact they didn't get to use all of their seats this year. We'll come out with a comprehensive plan by Monday, I would think, or Tuesday at the latest, to do it with the intention of being back in the stands by the middle of September. The league advises that they suspect we will be back at play sometime between the middle of August and the middle of September. So that tells me the 1st of September, hopefully with a few people in the stands.
Fantastic. I think we have Missy back with us. Missy, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think I've spotted the problem. Is that my dad playing IT guy?
He's trying to help me, yes.
Do not let Kevin near that machine.
Actually, I have to defend myself. I'm the only reason we have a connection at all.
Right. We're on his phone now.
The problem is the internet here, and we're actually going out over my my cellular service. So back to Missy.
So, and everyone say hello to Claire. She's here with us helping too. I am.
Hi, Claire. Welcome to Chair Voice Live. A few hundred viewers around the world. Obviously, everyone excited about the playoffs here. There's a great question that came in. If I could have planted one question, you know what, into this chat, it would have been this one. David Pack has asked the question, how can our fans help in the current situation? Because, Rob, and I know, Pete, you've seen this as well. There's been a lot of talk on social media about if fans
been really
are
awesome. The ideas that come through social media are incredible. One of the incredible things is we get new ideas. The other thing that happens almost all the time is we are working on the same ideas that our supporters are coming up. And, the old saying is great minds think alike. And so when we get feedback like that, it happened this morning on the flag idea. So it's been really nice to see how much our supporters want to help us. Rob, I'm sure you've been impressed as well. Missy, constantly getting ideas on the merch.
Mm-hmm, yeah, constantly.
Go ahead, Miss.
And I was going to say, and I have to say, we have a team that's working on this. As you know, Neil Peters has done a fantastic job. And every time somebody says, oh, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Neil's like, yes, and I have these 3 designs. So it's been a lot of fun. And hopefully people are going to see exactly what they're looking for as we start releasing things. Hopefully you're already seeing some of that on the site.
Well, and Missy, get your IT guy to turn up your volume a little bit. And then let me be very direct, Matt, which is, I guess, my role in this. We're going to need our fans' money. We're going to give them values for their money. We're going to give them an opportunity to help us sooner rather than late. Oh my God. And then
Yeah, I have questions.
Our supporters asked for the
what I'm
dog,
terrified
Dad,
of.
not you.
Okay, I was wrong. Cut him off. No. Let
been
me
here
just
on
say
behalf of
this
the
by way of
supporters.
introduction. I know many of the fans have met Kevin at the games. Kevin is my younger brother. There are two things I'm going to say, or three. First, he's the guy who got Pete involved in soccer early days. He got me involved most recently. He is probably the smartest business person you'll ever meet in your life. And if you want to learn a little bit about our family, I sent to Matt an interview that a local company did with Kevin talking about his business life. And what you will find from it is we are not what if sort of guys. We are, let's go forward, let's create value, let's make this better, and we will succeed. One of the things I've stolen from Kevin that, well, among many, is the intrinsic difference when people say, how are you going to do in the playoffs? And a lot of people attempted to say, I believe we're going to do well. And Kevin has explained to me, that's only a verb. What you need is a noun. It is the word belief. If you have that belief that you're going to win, they got to knock you off of it. It is yours. And that's how we're approaching these playoffs. So I didn't mean to put him on the spot. Don't cry, Kevin. It's not
Well,
about
I'm going
me.
to turn it back over to Missy, but I would. I'm going to turn it back over to Missy, but I would like to follow up on that because when my brother and my son got involved with Wickham last summer and this process began, the one thing that I knew was that things would get better for Wickham because both of them are winners. Both of them work hard. They're smart, but they still listen to people. And I'm filled with belief. I can see the day that Wickham opened the season in the championship. So back to Missy, because that's what people are really interested in is her.
Look,
Well,
and from
really,
a
I think
coaching
they're
perspective,
really
that's
interested in
important because
this
one of the things that my dad always told me was you must visualize success. He told all of our players that. When any one of his players stepped up to take a free kick, he made them think about exactly how that ball was going to go into the net so that when it happened, they weren't surprised. And so belief, visualizing success, that was one of the things that really about Gareth that we melded with immediately is that he uses a lot of the psychological coaching components that I've heard my entire life.
All right, Matt, we stole your show from you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, we should say all questions are on the table. And I think this is a pertinent one from Sue because it's been a big talking point. Peterborough United, okay? Now, there's been talk that we are now rivals with Peterborough United. There has been a lot that's been said. The media, I think, have played a part in trying to fuel the flames. I know there's been invitations to kind of have on-air debates with the hierarchy at Peterborough United. Now, from my perspective, as I see it, Gareth and Darren Ferguson are hugely close and hugely mutually respectful. I know Phil, my equivalent at Peterborough, fantastic guy. And you guys have had dealings with Darren McAntony and the ownership there. How have you perceived what people see to be now this rivalry between the clubs because of the situation that has benefited us and knocked them out of the promotion picture?
Well, let me stop with the predicate. I don't think the situation has benefited us at all. We were in the top 6 for 34 of the past 36 weeks. There was no formula that came up with. Dara's formula did not deny us the playoffs. It only substituted his team for Plymouth's. So we never really got involved in that.
Pompey.
I think the guy's terrific, frankly. He approaches life a little bit differently in terms of his articulation of his views. We early days, Pete, Gareth, me, sat down. We've involved Trevor, Dave, the two Davids on the board.
It's worse.
Missy, we decided our road was the road we know how to do. We're going to present our views to those
But
who
we're not
make the
on.
judgment. We will allow people to say whatever they want on social media, and we would ignore it. Now, that's not to say that there probably hadn't been
Yeah.
a day or two that one of us on this call may have been tempted to engage, but we were able to talk the other out of it. So I think what they've done for Peterborough is spectacular. I mean, they have got them fired up. They've put them in a great spot to get ready for next year. But we weren't overly concerned by what they were doing.
I told you
There's
guys
another
I wanted to have a beer with Dara. That guy is obviously very passionate about his club. Has given his life for the last 15 years to Peterborough. And one of the things that we do is we try to put ourselves in other people's shoes to try to understand their perspective, which I do. I feel bad for Peterborough. I feel bad we were all denied one of the greatest League One playoff finishes of all time. So anybody that's not in the playoffs, there were plenty of teams that could have made that run that were just denied the opportunity to do so.
But having said that, we could sit here and feel sorry for ourselves, because I can tell you, if you took a poll of our players, 25 out of 25 would say that, I'm sorry, what's Rotherham doing there? That was our spot. Maybe we would have given in to Coventry because they were on a pretty good roll. But remember this, we had as good a record as anybody in the games leading up to when we took off that week, not of our doing, because of Bury. So, I mean, I'm not defensive about this for an iota or a second. And I don't, to get back to the original question about the Peterborough thing, I admire guys who fight. They chose how to go about it. I might have approached it differently. I'm not a football guy. I'm just a guy who wants to win and succeed.
I've shipped it to you guys. We've talked about it all the time. I did obviously quite a bit of analysis on the tables. Ipswich has been getting hammered for their position. Ipswich, first half of the year, was top of the table almost constantly. They had the hardest run of 8 or 9 matches over the last 8 or 9 weeks that played. And then they had one of the easiest run-ins. I think it was even easier than Peterborough's. So I also understand Ipswich's frustration, even though when you look at the current table, they're 11th. So everybody wanted – the only fair way to finish the season was finish the season. Outside of that, and this kind of goes back to this. Life isn't fair, and if soccer is life, soccer ain't fair. Sorry,
I was going to say, and if you look at it, the season started off, everybody, I read somewhere, somebody said, well, we all signed on for 46 games. Well, we did, but then they only said day one, but by the way, you only play 44. So right from day one, this was going to be an unusual season. My objection to some of the formulas that people came up with was they were predictive in their nature. And if you use predictive in their nature, we would have been 19th or 20th in the league beginning the season. We are not a predictable team. I can defend how we could have ended up at first place as easily as I can defend anybody who says we would be outside of the playoffs. So we're not defensive about it. My only problem is, and it's hard because of all that's going on, I feel bad for the players and the fans that they weren't able to be at Adams Park, because Kevin and I had decided that that's when we were going to clinch at Adams Park. On the second to last game, we would have the automatic promotion, and we were going to show people what a Louisiana party was like. But we'll put that off, and I will give you a little foretelling of next year. The first game in which all of our fans can come back, you want to be there. It's going to be a party. And it's going to celebrate what these boys have done this year.
We cannot wait for that. I think there's so much anticipation to get back to Adams Park. And for now, the anticipation we have to generate into these playoff matches. So let's look ahead to them. there's been a lot of talk online about what clubs are doing in the absence of fans, some exciting new initiatives, things that you wouldn't have thought possible, and certainly
Chair
wouldn't
Boys
have thought
Live.
that. Exactly. This has been born out of lockdown and being unable to be in physical contact with each other. Pete, I know we had a call earlier with Neil and the rest of the staff here. What kind of things and what kind of thinking has there been from you guys' perspective in terms of how to best monetize, but also engage with supporters during this period with the playoffs coming up?
You know, the cool thing is that the Bundesliga has been active for a couple of weeks, and so we've been able to see what other leagues are doing. Obviously, I think we're almost finalized on the cardboard cutout fans, so that people will be able to be represented in the stadium and have, sort of a takeaway from that for the, some memorabilia for the run. We're doing whatever we can. The flags idea is another good one. I wish we had our striker on, because Neil is obviously commandeer. He's taken that. But I also want to talk about this. We've been giving Neil a lot of credit, and he has been the striker on this. But I've been around the room, and Matt's come up with great ideas. Don's come up with great ideas. Kelly's come up with great ideas. Everybody's coming up with great ideas. We just now have a striker that we can stick on stuff, and he's like Rob, man. You give a dog a bone and he chases it.
I got it. So let me say this, Matt, and break you a little news. We're going to begin to roll out with all this stuff beginning next Monday. So I think fans will see, in typical fashion for us, a daily sequential buildup of things that they can do to participate, that will help the club, that will make them feel good about it. And it will be exciting times. And I think psychologically what we're going to have to do, and what we're going to have to concentrate on doing, is putting aside everything that's happened in the past. Kevin has this great saying, he doesn't have any rear view mirrors. It doesn't matter how we got here, what could have been, where we are. Beginning today, it's only about today and the future. And that's how we're going to approach this. So the fans should hold on. We can't give them the in-stadium experience that Missy and Pete and I had talked about so much for a while, but we can give them a totality of experience that will justify the label, the worldwide Wickham phenomenon. Missy's right there in the headquarters of the phenomenon, our bookstore in St. Francisville. It's the largest international company located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. There you go.
Can we hear you, Missy? Are we just talking over you? Is your mic working, or are we just?
I can barely hear you.
This is great.
I
All
can
right.
barely hear you guys.
All right, just put my dog in the.
Yeah, we can. Look, I need to point out to Andy Leonard, Harvey Davies, and my boy Phil. Y'all came up with the word soccer. Just, sorry we still use it over here on this side of the pond.
And Pete, just so you know, I've had these discussions when I've been over on that side of the water. Apparently, they are allowed to use the word soccer in the UK. It's only those of us who are not from the UK who are not allowed to use the word soccer.
That makes sense, because I keep watching this show with Jimmy Bullard on it called Soccer AM, and I'm wondering, why'd they name it after? Is this an American show? And it's not.
Look, it's our house, our rules, okay? Our game, our rules. We call it what we want. You guys call it what we want you to call it, all right?
Look, I'll tell you this. I am wearing a soccer shirt. This is a replica of the 1994 USA World Cup kit right here, and it comes in Wickham colors. 94 World Cup was awesome, wasn't it?
Pete, you can't sell it. This is all about Wickham today.
Let's just talk a couple of practical questions are coming about the dates of the playoffs. We don't yet know. I know there's been a couple of provisional dates that have been talked about, and Sky Sports obviously have to factor them in. The games will be shown live on Sky Sports, and therefore it will be shared with partnered broadcasters around the world for the Worldwide Wanderers. It won't be shown on iFollow because of the Sky Sports restrictions, and they own the broadcast rights. So as soon as we know the dates, we'll be sharing them with you. All the information about how you can watch the games and participate will be with you as well. And I use the word participate because it's going to be interactive. We're going to want to see photos of you guys at home in your shirts, in your merchandise. We want you to have as much lead time as possible to get online, buy your shirts, buy your merchandise, and have a watching party at home because that's what it's all about.
To that watching party, we always, up until last year when we got involved with Wickham, on July the 3rd at our house in St. Francisville, we have a huge party. It's my wife's birthday. Pete's wife's birthday is right adjacent, the country's birthday. So we have a big 4th of July party. If the schedule goes as we've tentatively seen, we would probably expect to have a worldwide Wickham Phenomenon watching party at our place with the flags flying and the like, because we're trying to figure out how to get there. The lockdown is such that it's going to be tough. Pete's going back earlier than we can go back, so he'll be available. But it's we're going to come up with the way to watch it and the way you can be part of the phenomenon and feel connected. That is high on our list of things to do.
Phil Catchwell points out the game will be on the radio as well. BBC
Yeah, but do
Three
we have an
Counties.
announcer? Can we find an announcer somewhere?
If only
You
we
already
knew.
forgot about you. You already forgot. You love giving Phil
The greatest announcer ever, and we're very fortunate to have him. We really are. Let me tell you what I like about him. He has a justifiable pride in Wickham, but he's not afraid to criticize in the right way, to ask the right questions, to be pertinent about it. And so he's I like Blunt Phil because his name is correct. Blunt.
Well, he was your very first interview after the vote as well, Rob. You were played out on BBC Three Counties Breakfast this morning. Already, Jason Brown, fantastic to say, he has a Wickham flag flying proudly on the front door of the house.
Fantastic.
And that's it. And that's sort of from today, we're just saying to people, it's not just about the day of the games. We're in the playoffs. The campaign has started. And therefore, whatever you can do to just show a little bit of pride in your football club, whether you're in High Wycombe, New Orleans, wherever you are in the globe, put some merchandise out, put some official Wickham apparel on your doors, on your windows, and dress your town with Wickham Wanderers, because we're going to celebrate all of this.
Let me give you an idea too, Matt. In this age of social media, you have a wonderful thing that was created by our friends who have the drones of Adams Park. It's a simple little thing to send out to all your friends and say, join the phenomenon.
Absolutely.
Rob, Paul Brazier's got a good question, and I'm not actually sure. I think you do, Matt. Are the I follow season passes are going to be able to watch the matches even if they don't have Sky, correct?
That, Pete, is we're trying to find out. We were told that was going to be the case originally. But definition on that, I suspect, within the next 3 to 5 days.
I think the question is, if this was a regular league game that season ticket holders weren't able to attend, then passes would have been handed out for season ticket holders to watch on iFollow for free in lieu of coming to the game. The playoffs wouldn't be included in season tickets anyway. If you remember back to the 14-15 season, you had to buy a playoff ticket separately. And that's the reason that there won't be free iFollow passes for this one.
But of course, Matt, and this gets into the economics again, the whole thing's upside down. In the old days, prior to this year, going to the playoffs was an economic boon for a team. You got massive amounts of revenue from fans in the stadium and the like. There is none of that. There is precious little money from the TV rights for us, as we appreciate it. It does have the benefit, and this is one of the things that the league persuaded me on, is that because they were able to guarantee, in effect, these playoff games, the amount owed back to Sky and the others was relatively small and can be paid out over 3 years. So it's for all those people who think we're getting into the playoffs and it's going to be a great economic boon to us. They haven't looked at the numbers. Pete and I went through it. It's going to cost us probably $125,000 to £150,000. Although if Pete and Neil and Matt and Don and everybody works hard, maybe not.
There's been a few questions about.
That's actually another good example. So 4 teams are having to take players off of furlough, staff off of furlough to go into the playoffs to save the rest of the league. And when we're having to pay for our own testing. We're having to pay for everything. It's
Well, we're not finished yet either. So
no. Sorry,
No, it's gonna
I'm a little frustrated with the process.
Patrick's asked a question a few others had as well about the players. Normally, players' contracts are up at the end of June. We normally get to hear at the end, at sort of mid-May, once the regular season is finished, that certain players are going to be kept on, certain ones won't be. Now, the playoffs will take place in July, as we expect to happen. So can you just confirm that the players whose contracts are up this summer, there is an option that they would be available to play in the playoffs?
Yes.
And also with the staff as well that are on leave, because there have been some questions as well about the furlough scheme and what the club looks like once the playoff campaign is over, and look forward to next season as well.
Let me take this one, Pete, because we haven't really talked about what I see. We're bringing back some staff people this week and early next week to assist us in putting this thing on the right economic basis to get through the playoffs. The players have all been spoken to or will be spoken to in terms of an agreement to get through the playoffs. Those who will be staying with us after the playoffs will be under contract and no issues. Those who may not be, we're going to find a way to work with them in a way that makes sense. Remember that probably over 1,000 footballers will be out of contract and not sure what's going to happen to them. These guys have been good to us. We're going to be good to them. The staff after the playoffs, I think we're probably going to go with a pretty skeletal staff up until we find out when and if we can return with fans. Again, I'm a guy who tries to find the best parts of what's going on. I've been super impressed with our ability to work with a very small staff and produce results through today. Hopefully we can keep those lessons going.
A question from Sam. Now, I said earlier that if is the biggest word in football. If we were to be promoted to the championship, can the club be sustainable? And I suppose if you look at the bottom 3 of the championship at the moment, it's the 3 clubs that won promotion, I think, last year from this division. So Luton, Barnsley and Charlton have obviously found it a tough step. They had to recruit new players in the summer to meet the standard. I suspect as well it'll be a shorter gap as well. If we were successful in the playoffs, the new season will start quite quickly. Are you able to give confidence that Gareth will have a strong enough squad to start in the championship, with enough strength to see us through matches and financially as well, that the club would be sustainable without fans?
Well, actually, in some weird ways, it's easier to be financially sustainable in the championship without fans than it is in League One, because you get the relatively larger TV and solidarity payments. So that's not going to be the issue if we go up. In terms of competitive talent, a couple of things are going to happen. I believe, and I could be wrong, but in the next month, you're going to see a player controls put in on how much they can play across the board in the championship. So the disparity will be decreased. The big problem with the championship, of course, is the parachute payments coming down from the Premier League that distorts how much teams are willing to spend. We're going to be financially sustainable if we're in the championship, if we're in League One or Two or wherever we are, because that's our DNA. And we're going to be competitive and succeed whichever league we're in, because that's part of our DNA. We pride ourselves. Pete and I were laughing this morning. We can figure things out. We'll get there. Don't worry about your club.
Going back to the match day experience of the playoffs, because this question's come in a few times from James, and it was an idea that floated around social media about showing the away game at Fleetwood here at Adams Park on a screen. You've drilled 3 words into us this season more than any, Rob: cost-benefit analysis. So far, and I know, Pete, that you were on a call earlier about this. Is that going to be viable, and with health and safety restrictions as well?
First, I got to give a shout out to my boy JT from Wickham Athletic. That's my Sunday League teammate. He's our he's a good little winger.
Yeah, Matt, we don't know because that test that I tell you about all the time, Neil is running right now. It's one of about a half a dozen ideas that we're percolating with. And as we get into next week and we roll out what we can and can't do, if we can do it, if there's a way to do it and it doesn't cost us money, we will likely do it.
Question. We're going to talk about the shop and merchandise again in a second. A new kit, new home kit is due for next
Everybody's
season.
going to wait. As part of my austerity move, we're going to play shirts against skins. No. Pete's in charge of the new kits. And I don't know, Pete, whether you're ready to talk about them. My suspicion is it's something we'll want to announce after the playoffs. But
yeah. There were some great designs that everybody started throwing forward a few weeks ago. The decisions were made a long time ago. We are ready. I mean, it's just a simple, you can't. When does this season? The question that I gave was, when does this season end and when does the next one begin? It also has to do with, we need to wait until our sponsors are ready to do a promotion. We had talked with some local companies on special kit release parties. Believe me, I want to show them so bad it's crazy, because I'm really proud. And it wasn't just me; it was another team effort. We did definitely bring some American influence into it. Maybe not American, definitely New Orleans. But we also, one of the things that I did last year was really study the history of the kits. And so we also brought we're also bringing some very historical perspective of the kits as well. I've seen them. I know why people are excited about seeing the new kits, and we want to show them as soon as possible. But you're just going to have to wait.
Well, and let me say this. Now's a good time to get the last of this year's kits. What do we have left, Missy? 40 of them or thereabouts?
It depends on the size you're looking
I'm going to set this up
for.
at home, and we're going to have all of our discussions on this system.
Can you not
because
hear me
I'm winning
still?
every discussion now.
I
Can you not hear me still?
Go, Missy.
Yeah,
go.
Sorry. Can you still? You still can't hear me, right? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Okay. So it depends on what size you're looking for. Basically, we took everything that was in this shop and in any storeroom and sent it over to the fulfillment center. So on some sizes of this year's kit, there are very few. On other sizes, if you're looking for a small, for instance, you probably still have a good shot. But it's just going to depend on which size you're looking for as to how many there are left. But there's really not a ton left, as it is the end of the season, and we do have that new kit coming out. So get them while you can.
And Missy, talk us through the success so far of the two online stores. We have the main shop site, we have the gift site as well. Some new items that people haven't seen previously, but some good sales on ones that actually have been available for quite a few months throughout the season, but are also proving popular. You must be really pleased with how it's gone so far.
I've been very, very pleased. Again, compliments to Neil on getting all of this set up. But if you go to the WWFC official website, you can click down and you'll see multiple choices. You can go to the online shop, which is the kits, everything, the kits, the warm-up suits, everything that was in the shop before is on that site. Then you can choose the one called Chairboys Gifts. On that one, there's not only the tumblers like the one you were holding up just a little bit ago, but there's also new T-shirts that were just launched last week on it. A series of different T-shirts. You can see those as well as some other gifts. I don't know if you all saw the Back to Training post this morning that was put up, but in it there were water bottles, etc. And you can see some of the things that are available there as well. And then you can also get things personalized on that site. And one final thing we have is on that site, you can also click down to the WWFC Worldwide site, And on that one is where you see the T-shirts like Kevin was wearing earlier, the one with the big logo in the center. And those right now, they're just shipping out to the U.S. because I don't have a way to get them over to England right now for them to ship out from the fulfillment center. As soon as we can get that arranged, they need to be on their way as well.
I'm going to ask one question as well that's going to make Rob smile, because I know it has been talked about in forums. It's been custom at Wycombe Wanderers that at the end of the season there is a sale of unsold stock, and people can get it on the cheap. And I know there's been a couple of questions today. Will there be an end of season stock sale of any remaining items?
No.
And I hope not. I hope that we sell everything at the prices that they were originally set at, so that when you buy your shirt on the first day it's available, you don't feel like you're spending money you wouldn't have spent otherwise. You feel like you're spending the money that you're going to spend on that shirt throughout the season. And as it stands right now, we're almost out. So the need of having a sale seems pretty slim to me. So
You go along with that, absolutely. I think we're going to give it just a few more minutes. If there's any more questions from our viewers that'd like to fire across, we've covered a lot of topics today.
I've got a question. Is it 5 o'clock in Wycombe yet? Is it getting close to 5 o'clock? Because I know we're having muted celebrations and it's only 11 o'clock here, but I got to tip a beer to my boys in Wycombe. We are in the playoffs. We finished third. We do need to celebrate a little bit.
Absolutely. Rob, a couple of questions on this have come in about the stadium enhancements that have been talked about before the virus struck.
Yeah, we're working on the complete putting fiber throughout the stadium. They have applied for some permits that were necessary to do that. We expect those permits to be granted in the next week or two. I am hopeful that by the beginning of the season, we will have the most technologically proficient stadium in the UK.
We're looking forward to that. And just sort of looking ahead to the playoffs, Rob, you'll be over in the States, I imagine.
Come in.
What can we expect at a Couhig watching party? Can you picture the scene? Fleetwood Town walking out against Wycombe Wanderers.
It's going to make Thanksgiving look light.
Yeah, we'll be all up at the house in the country. We'll have a few of our relatives, that's 50 or 60 people, and then our friends. So there'll be a couple of hundred people, all socially distancing. Although in the United States and in Louisiana, we've moved past that. We are now at a point where you can go to restaurants, you can go out and shop. You're not required to wear a mask at every time. You can have clients come into your office in the middle of the day without any advance notice and wonder what the heck you're doing on the TV.
And a couple of questions have come in as well, just really quickly about the Wanderer wall as well. I think sales of tiles are going to cease in about 10 days' time. We're just leaving them up for a little bit more. We're going to sell out that wall. And once fans are able to come back, that wall should be installed. And it's going to be a fantastic commemoration of what an unbelievable season this has been.
Well, underline unbelievable. From the fact that Bury dropped out, we came in, we go from predicted to be in relegation mode to in the playoffs to stopping it because of a worldwide pandemic. You got 10 more things you can come up. Oh, now we've got competing dogs. You know, they've got that, I can't use the technical term for Pete's dog compared to mine, but there's an appreciable difference between the two.
This is why nobody's going to listen.
Look, and let me get back to this wall thing. This is to commemorate the single greatest season in Wycombe football. If you want to be part of that forever, then they got to finish it. And I think, Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're down to the final 40, 50, 60 of those tiles that are available. So it's going to get sold out. And if people want to have something they can bring their kids to say, I was there in the most remarkable year, it'll be pretty cool.
What a way to end. I think people are going to have switched off listening to us now. There's dogs on the screen. I know how our episode 2 disrupted into chaos with Paul Smith and Giles and Stockdale bringing their dogs on. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Chairboys Live, episode 10. It was about time we had you on the show. It's been a few episodes. Pete's been a regular, but today we brought up.
And I'm going to say this because Pete has fallen in love with Wycombe, and he is a mainstay not just to the football team, but of the town. And he's done yeoman service, and as everybody knows, he's got his family living here, and it's tough on them, and they have been heroes in all of this. So we're very grateful to them for putting up with his absence, and for you guys for putting up with his presence. So it's a win-win for everybody. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And look,
well, guys, we'll do this again closer to the playoffs, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will. And I think next week, if you would, Matt, I'd like to have the two Davids on, David Smith, who's our secretary, David Cook, who's our safety guy, Trevor, who has really steered this ship to where we are, and Andrew Howard. I don't want us ever to forget the foundation that they put in place that allowed us to succeed. So
yeah, that's a good point.
thank you
Aren't
so
we
much.
right at the end of the 5-year plan?
That's it.
It's 5 years later, right?
That's it.
2014?
Year
No,
six
no,
is the
6.
5-year plan.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't counting on the Americans in year 6, were they?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Great stuff, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And keep an eye on the website and social media channels. We've got loads more news, loads more footage, photos, and interviews to bring you. Sign up to iFollow. Watch all the videos you can and share the word. Wycombe Wanderers are in the playoffs. They're coming at you soon. And what an exciting journey it's going to be on. Thanks very much. Take
Cheers,
care,
y'all.
everyone.
Up the wick.